Stacey, exploring the Enneagram. Maybe you have heard of me on Facebook, or you have come to one of my courses, or followed me for a bit, or read me on Substack, or you're in the newsletter, or whatever. And if you have, you might have heard me refer to what I call the deeper heart. Now, these terms can be a bit confusing because we tend to refer to different things. Different people refer to different things, and even the same person might refer to different things in different situations. So I wanted to say what I mean usually when I talk about the deeper heart, and what I mean in the latest context when I've been talking about this little group that I'm putting together. And when we talk about the centers, if you mention that the heart has a kind of unique position or special place, somebody will pipe up and say, no, they're all equally important and we all have all of it. And yes, we do. We all have all three centers and they are all equally important to everyone. If we didn't have them, and if we didn't employ them, if we didn't have emotions, if we didn't have a self-image, which is hard things, and if we didn't have the natural intelligence that our instincts provide, then if we didn't have, the thought processes, the capacity to have abstract thought, to understand things, to put things together, we would be very weird people, or barely people indeed, actually. So to be functional human beings, we need all three centers. And this is irrespective of whether you're a 3 or a 7 or a 1. So, that said, something is different. We prefer different things. Maybe we say that this modality appeals to me because I'm a so-and-so. Sorry. And we might find that this is true. If I'm a head type, I might be drawn to these modalities that use cognition, that sort of process stuff by thinking about it, by looking at it from various angles, by questioning stuff. And if I'm a heart type or an image type, I might be drawn to modalities that use feeling or emotion or other such aspects that look at me, who am I, that kind of thing. Or I may indeed be drawn to the exact opposite of what my natural inclination might be to identify with. Or I might be a 3, 6 or 9, which would, again, mean different things. But we might have various tastes and preferences and capacities that depend on the type we are, depend on which center this type is housed in, as it were. But there's also some things that will be the same regardless. And one of these things is that the information between the three centers of intelligence, literal three centers of intelligence that we have, the one in the gut, the one in the heart, and the one in the head, this information will be traveling upwards for the most part. Like an overwhelming amount of data that travels between the centers will be from the gut to the heart and the head, from the heart to the head. And this is because the vagus nerve, the 10th cranial nerve that forwards this information, operates that way. This is how it goes. And we can see that if we try to make ourselves have an instinctual reaction, if we try to think our way to have an instinctual reaction, we will fail because this doesn't really work. If we try to make ourselves love someone or like someone, even feel this or that about ourselves, we can do that as a mental exercise, but it won't really affect the emotions. It won't really affect the heart because, again, the head has a hard time informing the heart and the gut. And the heart has a hard time informing the gut. It's like if something just evokes revulsion in us, and then we have empathetic aspects that make us really resonate with this thing, to not be, ugh. We'd still, if this situation or object or whatever would surprise us, we'd still have this instinctual reaction because that is, again, prior to whatever emotions or emotional understanding we apply to it. So this is, again, something that goes for everybody, how we function. And this says something about how we need to utilize the centers in our inner work, even if I'm a so-and-so and I prefer this or that modality, I still need to have a basic anchoring in my body. I need to be grounded for any emotional work that I do to have some effect, like lasting, deeper influence on who I am and what I experience. Because if I don't, I can just go around in my emotions and not much will come of it. And same again, I need this ground, and I need the emotional, I need the me who, as I would say in one of my books, the emotional, the heart center quality of reflecting on who's this, who am I, and I need this for any cognitive processing that I'm doing to be relevant again to my inner growth, to my what actually changes within me. If I just process stuff mentally and I think about this or that, I might be extremely intellectually intelligent and I might draw super perfect conclusions and understand things at really high levels, but that won't help me grow as a person. That won't help me know myself as a person, as an individual. So for that, we need all these three centers. And then again, we don't need to, it's not like we need to do all the instinctual work, because then we can start on the heart, and then we do all the emotional work, and then we can start on the head. That's not how it works. And possibly you know that. You realize that we do a bit of this and a bit of that, and we come back to this or that. But in essence, the heart requires the gut the work of the heart requires the work of the gut to be really helpful. And the work of the head requires the work of both the gut and the heart. So it's like three stations that we need to pass or traverse or incorporate every time we do something that leads to growth. Every time we actually get to know ourselves better. And this was my truth or my experience for quite some time. And then a good many years into it, I realized this is not really actually the end of the line up here. There is a fourth station that we need to access, that we need to come to for us to, especially if we're in the psycho-spiritual arena, for us to grow spiritually, and as far as I'm concerned, for us to truly actually grow as human beings. We need this fourth station, as it were. And the fourth station is coming back again to the heart. And now, this is not the same heart, as it were, again, as the heart we looked at, the heart where my self-image is housed, where my emotions are housed. We look at relationships, we look at love, all this kind of stuff. It's related to that, but in a way, it's deeper or bigger, or I don't know what kind of word we want to use. But it's like that this deeper heart is again about love, it's again about compassion. But it's about the unconditional bit of it. It's about the essential truth. It's holding all of this other stuff that I experience in the gut and in the heart and in the head. So this return to the heart is kind of the piece of the puzzle that lets us hold ourselves, basically, and humanity or the world, whatever scale we put on it. And it makes quite a significant change to the work that we do. And in some readings and teachings, we hear about something called the higher emotional center, the higher intellectual center. So is this then the higher emotional center? And in a sense, I want to say yes, it is the higher emotional center, in a sense, but kind of not as well. Because if you read, I have it here actually, if you read this book called Aspects of You, there is a talk about all the centers, And when I teach about the head center, I say the head center is kind of twofold. There is this simple constructive function of the head. And that's not to say whether it's evolved or not. This is we can be very evolved and have a very evolved simple constructive function where we understand stuff and we put dots together and we see things, we have insights, we can use our head, as we like to say in the Western world, use your mind. This is when we use our mind in a very mature and good way. It's still a simple constructive function. It works with stuff, with information. It processes information in various ways. Or it can be, again, obviously very unevolved, and it processes things too and comes to possibly different conclusions. But then we have what I call the higher open function of the head, which we also will encounter when we're doing this inner work. So we will have this capacity, all of us are not using it, but humans have a capacity for just being here, for just being intellectually online, cognitively online, but not processing something. I'm just open. So this is where I can have insights out of the blue, kind of insights. It's like when things come to us and we just realize something. This realization happens because all of this cognitive function was online. All of it was available, but we didn't do something specific with it. We didn't sit and put stuff together or figure things out. We were just open and there. And then this can come to us. So this is the higher open function of the mind, of the head center. And isn't this what's holding everything? Yeah, in a sense it is. In a sense, this higher open function, this presence, this awareness is an umbrella thing that awareness will hold all of your existence too. Awareness will hold all of your experience too. But that's not so surprising, is it? Because the head, as we said, is like the end of the line. This is as far as we go, basically, from the gut, heart, and head perspective. But the heart is in the middle. So the heart would be the station that we pass on the way, basically. And yet, this deeper heart that I'm sort of referring to here, despite its place in the middle, it is holding all of it. It just has the capacity to welcome all of it, to say yes. Again, there's this unconditional quality to it. And this is why it's not, in a way, it's bigger than the heart center. It's just the complete essence, basically, of who we are. In Egypt, in ancient Egypt, there was this idea that when you die, your heart is weighed against a feather, and it must be lighter than the feather, because if it's not, it's like not going well for you on the other side. And this heart is not, did you have nice emotions? Were you kind to people? Obviously, that would be possibly included. I wasn't there, so I don't know, but I assume it would be included. But then again, the heart is more than that. This is not the biological heart, nor is it exactly the heart center. It's basically your core. It's your essence. It's your life. And we have this too in our language, like the Western languages, whichever we're speaking. We talk about things being at the heart of something, and then we don't mean in the middle. We mean this thing that's really, really significant. And literally, the heart is really, really significant. And if the heart is taken out, we die instantly. It's not like we can function without it. It's like our existence in this body will go if the heart goes. So there is some insight that this is a particular thing, not just a station in the general run of things. And also for humans specifically, it's like we can talk about, and I've heard others talk about this too, that the heart center is like this interface between our more primal instinctual nature, that nature sort of gave us, our animal identity, and this higher, whatever, angelic, divine, spiritual, whatever label we'll put on it, that the heart is sort of reconciliating the two. And I think this is true too, and I think this is part of what makes the heart not just this middle station, but also a kind of, there's something there that's really, really key. And the group that I'm putting together, in this group, we'll be looking at, or we'll be experiencing, hopefully, that key in how we can use that in inner work, how we can familiarize ourselves with this deeper heart. And so it touches in and out of the heart center, but it's also a bit something more than that. So I suppose this is the best explanation I can give. It's not very lucid necessarily, but it might give you an idea of what I'm talking about. And this is not an opposition to something else. It's not that, so this means that X or Y are wrong. It's just, this is to say why I speak about the deeper heart this way, and maybe give some pointers as to what we'll be doing in this group, which I'm sure you read about somewhere. Unless you did, you probably wouldn't be on this video, because it's linked from there. And, regardless of whether you did or not, if you have questions, if you want to know about the group, or if you want to know about me, or if you want, whatever, just give me a shout and we'll talk. So, see you. Bye.
Yeah.